This won't be a long commentary, bear with me. Obviously, Paris has burned its way into everyone's soul, and I want to talk for a moment about the genesis, the origins of what has happened. I want to remind you that in March of 2003, based entirely on fabrications and lies, George Bush and Tony Blair invaded Iraq. Now, Brown University in the United States, calling on 30 to 35 experts, has done a study called the Costs of War Project. 4,489 American service personnel lost their lives in the Iraq War. 32,223 were seriously injured. 2,000 of them are amputees. 134,000 Iraqi civilians died, and several hundred thousand were injured, and over 2 million have been driven out of the country as refugees or remain in the country as displaced persons. And the cost of the war? $1.7 trillion, with $490 billion on top of that for benefits for war veterans, meaning that $2.2 trillion has been spent thus far on the Iraq War. The remarkable economist who won the Nobel Prize, Joseph Stiglitz, says it's closer to $3 trillion. Almost everybody agrees that over the next 30 or 40 years, some $6 trillion will be absorbed as a result of the Iraq War. And then there's something called ISIS as a consequence of that war. I remind you that in the last 2 weeks, 38 people were lost in a bombing in Beirut, 242 people lost in the airplane crash over Egypt, and now 129 people dead in the Parisian tragedy. That's the legacy of George Bush and Tony Blair. The travesty is that George Bush and Tony Blair will never be brought before the International Criminal Court to face the charges of war crimes or crimes against humanity. Why? Because they're white and they're Western. But if these were African leaders, black and African, you can be sure that by now they'd be rotting in the jails of the International Criminal Court. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.